and welcome to Social Media 101 with the Vermont Democratic Party. I'm VDP Communications Director, Asha Carroll, and tonight I will be leading you through a training of a quick look through social media channels, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, to demystify a bit about the social media universe today and to help you develop some quick habits, some practices to incorporate into your day-to-day routine to help grow your social media following and to use social media with more efficiency and effectiveness. We'll dive right in. As I said, welcome to Social Media 101 with the Vermont Democratic Party. I am your VDP Communications Director, Asha Carroll, and I'm so glad that you are here with me. It's easy to get overwhelmed by social media. With seemingly new apps and new social media platforms popping up every day, it can be hard to know where to put your focus and where to get the most traction for growing your account and attracting attention to your local town Democratic Party, your county Democratic Party, or your own political campaign. So we're going to simplify things tonight by taking a quick look at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, four of today's most popular social media platforms. Social media is one of our most powerful digital organizing tools. We can use social media to engage supporters, to communicate our message, to drive action, to donate, to volunteer, and of course to vote, and to move people up the ladder of engagement, whether that's for your local party, your county party, or your campaign. It's often the first place where people are arriving and the first place that they're interacting with your organization or your campaign. So I like to think of social media as the front door. It's the first thing people are seeing, and you want to make sure that you put that great first impression forward and make it accessible and easy and a place that they want to return. Social media is also a great place to support your party. Here at the Vermont Democratic Party, we use social media to support and fortify our communications efforts, our party fundraising, our community building, I think most of all, as well as ongoing engagement and interaction with our party supporters. You can use social media similarly, and it doesn't matter the size of your party. Like I said, whether it's on the local level, the county level, the state level, or the national level, our Democratic National Committee, we're all using social media to bring attention to the actions of our community and to inspire our community members to take further action to support and grow our Democratic Party. Now, let's talk a little bit about a big function of social media, which is sharing. I'm sure that you saw in the most recent election year that more posts than ever were filling up your social media feeds, if you're already on social media. If not, no worries, that's why we're here tonight. But I'd like to go over what constitutes shareable content and what sort of things we maybe shouldn't share on our party or our campaign social media pages. You can use your social media page to share news clips related to the Democratic cause, behind the scenes pictures of phone calls your campaign is making, or of community service projects your local Democratic Party is working on. You can share links to statements and press releases that might otherwise be on your website or that you've written up to share out with your email list. And when it comes to sharing press releases or full articles, I'd say pick a quote. Don't just share the headline, and maybe don't share the whole release to start. I think you can really find a balance in the middle by picking a quote that's going to pull the audience in and sharing a link to the full article, which, like I said, might live on a website or on an external page. You can share content from our elected officials and allied organizations. There are wonderful, wonderful organizations and campaigns around Vermont posting relevant, relatable content every single day that is begging to be reshared. You can share community stories, one of my favorites, by simply speaking to your neighbors, jotting down what they have to say or catching them on video, and sharing out a story in a post. You can share voter education. That's a hugely important one as we're heading into another election year. Mobilizing people to register to vote, check their voter registration, sign up to receive an absentee ballot or to go to the polls on election day. And of course, we share action items on social media. We don't want any activity to simply live and die on a post. A post should inspire the people reading it to take action. What shouldn't you share? Let's take a look at that. You want to make sure that you're sharing information from trusted sources. So we do not want to share information from untrusted sources. What's a trusted source? If you need help discerning whether or not a source is trustworthy, I would recommend checking with us here at your Vermont Democratic Party, or in checking the facts. Have you heard of this news source before? Is this a news source that you trust and have read for years, or that you have a trusted background in reading their content and understanding what they're about? If it's an account that you don't recognize, if the information is coming from a source that is unknown to you or untrusted, I would refrain from sharing that content. There's plenty of wonderful, wonderful content out there from sources that you do know and trust. And so I'd recommend using that as a starting place. Start with what you know. You should not share disparaging off-message remarks about Republicans. Now, here at the Vermont Democratic Party, we are all for holding Republicans accountable and increasing our Democratic majority. However, I know that in today's social media climate, and especially in our post-Trump America, social media can tend to be a place where people get heated in the comment section. And I would encourage you to not engage in those comments. And if you do, to engage in a place that's coming from an informed and educational place, and not a place where we're disparaging or we're tearing down people who might have different beliefs than ours. I would not share disparaging remarks about specific groups of people. That can be a real slippery slope when it comes to discriminating against groups of people. So I would really stay away from that one. I know that's not who we are. Do not share personal information on your Vermont Democratic Party, your local party, your county party pages. That is for your personal account, and we'll get into some ways that you can use your personal account as a great place to organize and digitally organize, but personal information is not the thing to share out publicly on your social media page for your organization or your campaign. Do not share others' contact information without their consent. We all know that. And don't share specifics about individual whereabouts. If you've got a location and you'd like people to meet up there, that can be a great thing to share via a mobilized event, via an email, or via a Facebook event, for example. But we just want to make sure that we're mindful and respectful of people's privacy when appropriate. So you are one step closer already just by being at this training today to becoming a digital organizer. All right, I know you're all organizers already, otherwise you wouldn't be here, but we are here to take our organizing skills and apply them to our ever-growing digital realm. And here are some starting places that I'd like to recommend. I want you to set up your social media accounts. I'd recommend choosing 1 to 2 platforms to start at. You can't do them all, especially with platforms popping up all the time. You want to really choose your channels where you're going to invest that time and grow a following. And once you do, then you can consider adding other platforms. I recommend starting with Facebook, which is, I think, just as commonplace these days as having a website, if not more, for your local organization or campaign. You're going to follow accounts of interest. So you're going to follow elected leaders in our Democratic Party, follow allied organizations, follow activists whose cause you believe in, follow accounts relating to the issues that are most important to you as a Democrat. To be an effective digital organizer, you might consider linking accounts together to duplicate your content efforts. For example, did you know that when you post an Instagram story, you can click an option that makes it so that that Instagram story automatically populates your Facebook story for your organization? Now, you've got to link up those accounts in advance, and we can get a bit more into how you'll learn to do that. But there are so many options to make it so that you are not duplicating your efforts and instead are headed for this place of efficiency and effectiveness. A good digital organizer amplifies messages from other accounts and from media outlets that you think deserve a place in your feed and in the eyes of your page's followers. So I'd really keep in mind, and I'd really encourage, I think that's a place we can all grow. I know that we're all super aware of current events and what's happening in the news and in the legislature. And I think that there is no shortage, truly. There is no shortage of messages to share, and it's going to be up to you to choose the ones that you think resonate the most with your followers and the values of your organization or campaign. And then once you've got that mastered a bit, then I would encourage you to begin creating your own content. And we'll go into some best practices for that as well. All right, first though, we want to choose our platforms. Like I said, tonight, we're going to go over 4 platforms in a bit of depth, that being Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. There are other platforms as well for you to connect with your audiences. But how do we know which ones to choose? Facebook. Facebook is the must-have social media platform for electoral politics. People are having political conversations on Facebook for better or for worse. And as Democrats, we have got to show up there. We know we are living in an age of misinformation and disinformation. So it is more important than ever for us to lead on Facebook with a strong, positive message that really amplifies what we stand for as Democrats, that shows people, not just tells them, what our democratic values are and invites them to join us in the fight and the call to action. Think of your organization or campaign's Facebook page as a mini website. It's your social media home on the internet. So you want to make sure, like I said, that you've got your doormat and you've got your nice front doorstep, and that you are welcoming people in so that they can see what you stand for and that they're inspired to stick around on your page and get to know you. Facebook is a wonderful place to build community. Facebook, I know we all have, if you're on Facebook already, we have our Facebook friends, and there's no reason why we can't build on the communities that we have already on our personal Facebook pages and invite those friends into the community that we are building on our organizations or campaigns Facebook page. Facebook's a wonderful place for sharing all kinds of content with supporters, like we talked about earlier. All you have to do is click share, and you can share out a piece of content with your followers, whether you have 10 followers or 10,000. I know that the content that you have to share is valuable, whether it's your own content that you've created, photos you're sharing or graphic designs that you've made as a county committee, for example, or as a local school board campaign, but also the content of those organizations or those accounts, those news outlets that you know and trust. You can show your supporters what's important to you on your page by being choosy about the content that you share out. And of course, what we're here for, that's to drive action. Facebook, it's incredibly easy to post a link to a petition, to a thank you card, to a donation link, or to a virtual phone bank, for example, and drive people to action, drive them to attend an event, drive them to tune into a town hall or a virtual town hall. There's so much we can do with the power of a quick link and a relatable description or conversation on Facebook, and that can happen right there in your post. Instagram is my favorite, and that's the place to carve out your brand. As I mentioned, I'd recommend using Facebook as your starting place first and foremost. But when it comes to selecting maybe what your second platform will be, I think Instagram, if you consider yourself a visual person or you tend to collect a lot of photos or digital photos on your computer, it can be a really great place to show people what you stand for, but in the visual sense. And we can do that by defining a brand, being a visual identity in this case, that shows who you are and what you believe. Instagram's also a wonderful place to build community. Though I'd say it functions a little bit differently than Facebook. Like Facebook, Instagram also has direct messages or DMs as a place where you can connect one-on-one with your friends or your followers, folks who are following you. But you can also build community in the comments. And unlike Facebook, there are many public pages on Instagram that you can follow as well. You can get involved there, like a post, comment, or do so in that account's stories as well. We'll get into stories in a minute, to build community. And also, it's a lot about what you're putting out there. So once again, sharing all kinds of content with your supporters. We tend to see a lot of educational content these days, especially in the political and advocacy space on Instagram, and that being education through easy to read visual posts, either created through photos or graphic design. I recommend Canva as a great place to start graphic design if you haven't already. And feel free to reach out to me for more resources. But education is really the name of the game on Instagram these days. You might have heard of hashtag activism, that being folks who are speaking out about a cause on social media, but not taking the actions to go with those words. We want to convert this current era of hashtag activism to an era of action. And the great thing is, you'll find on Instagram communities of people who care about causes, and you'll be able to locate people via hashtags to learn who cares about voting rights, who cares about reproductive liberty, who cares about healthcare for all. And then you're going to be able to connect, grow that community, and once again, inspire people to action through links. Twitter is the platform for the wordsmiths. If you consider yourself a writer and you're not so much into the photo or video world, you can still grow a massive following on Twitter. And I'd say Twitter's a place not to steer away from maybe a little bit of that snarky side of your personality. That's welcome there. It's a place for breaking news, sharing stories with reporters, inserting yourself into the conversation. You can comment on Twitter quite openly, and again, with the right comment, you might find yourself attracting quite a lot of attention. And again, Twitter is a place where we can place links and drive action. TikTok, and I did add TikTok today. As well as our sort of mainstays of Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But TikTok is growing tremendously at the moment. And TikTok is a place for short form, informal video content. You don't want to be afraid to show your face on TikTok. A lot of people there, we're looking at recording yourself just on your phone, and it's an informal place. So I'd say don't be afraid to show your face. On TikTok, I compare it to kind of the social media lottery. So you might find you're posting and that your posts aren't getting a lot of attraction. Maybe they're getting a few likes or a few comments, but with the right hashtag on TikTok, you could end up finding yourself in a moment of virality overnight. So I think the whole discovery nature of TikTok makes it a really interesting platform. And we'll talk a little bit more about hashtags in a bit. Relevancy on TikTok is indeed the name of the game. It's a very popular platform with Gen Z. There are trending contests, challenges, and songs that you'll find out about on TikTok, again, through your own discovery. And you might choose to hop on board with those and again, seek out that viral moment. And we are seeing so many people, so many activists and elected officials taking their message to TikTok, and they are educating there and speaking on the issues. And again, I can't stress enough, it's a wonderful place to reach out to younger Vermonters. And so many more platforms: Twitch, Reddit, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Clubhouse. Always we're growing the platforms out there where we can speak to people. And if you're interested in learning more about any of these, please do reach out to us at the Vermont Democratic Party, and we'll help set you up with resources to explore additional social media platforms. Now, how do you choose the right social media platform for you? I'd encourage you to think about how you like to communicate. Are you more of a wordsmith, or do you prefer to be on video in the spotlight? Do you like to take photos when you're at events? Do you always somehow find yourself with camera in hand? Are you a bit more artistic in the graphic arts, and you want to try your hand at making some graphic designs, which these days is so easy to do, given all the apps out there and free apps out there where you can create your own graphic arts content. Which apps do you find yourself using just for fun? I wouldn't force yourself to become a Twitter person if indeed you realize that you spend a couple hours every day on Facebook. If you do already, it makes sense to grow that momentum where you are naturally drawn, so that you can work with those things that you feel most comfortable with and passionate about. And again, I'd encourage you to think about whether you like to make content, share content, or both. I think there's so much that you can do to grow an account just by sharing alone, but I would encourage you also to think about ways, like I said, where you can make content that builds on your committee's or your campaign's strengths. Choose Facebook and one other account to start. That's my recommendation. Here's how we get started. To get set up on a social media account, I'd give it a good old Google search and check out your platform's help or support pages for tips on setup. For example, I would Google Facebook support or Instagram help, and make sure that the source that it is coming from Instagram.com or Facebook.com or Twitter.com, and then click through those help and support pages. They are copious, and you should be able to search for anything that you need. Choose your profile picture. This often could be a logo for your campaign or for your organization or your committee. It could also be, if you're an elected official or a candidate, it could be a picture of you. Write your about blurb based on what platform you're on. There are some word limits to how many, or character limits to how many words you can use to describe yourself or your cause, but I recommend keeping it limited to a short mission or vision statement. Reach out to me if you have more questions about writing your about blurb. These are some accounts that I recommend following to start: at VT Dems, of course, the White House, the Democrats, of course, our president and FLOTUS, the VP, the ASDC, which is our Association of State Democratic Committees, and of course, our Vermont elected Dems and our Democratic caucuses in the legislature, our Vermont Senate Dems, our Vermont House Dems. If you'd like to have some ideas of more accounts to follow, just reach out to us at the VDP. I also recommend following local news outlets and allied organizations such as VT Digger, 7 Days, VPR, or our allied organizations across the state. Once you've got your account set up, it's time to start spreading the word. You need to gain your first followers. So I'd recommend adding links to your website and to other social media pages to see if you can cross-populate followers, to link between your social accounts, your website, and your email list. That's how you're going to grow them all. To brainstorm and implement creative ways to increase follows, you might want to make a clear ask in person. Say to someone next time you're sitting down to coffee, hey, my committee is on Facebook now. Would you mind following us? Here's a link to us. I'll send it over to you, or follow us at VT Dems. Or you can ask via your email list or through your personal account. Send a DM and say, hey, I'm a part of this Democratic committee. It's really important to me. Or here's a campaign that I'm working on, and ask people to follow that way. You can also interact with other accounts, resharing their posts to attract some more attention, or share your content across platforms. If you're on Facebook and you want to share on Instagram, you can do that through linking, or likewise sharing your TikToks to your Instagram, or vice versa. Our home base is at VT Dems, or you can hashtag us in anything you create, hashtag VT Dems. Just a couple quick pieces of lingo. Your handle is, if you've ever seen an @ symbol, your handle for us, that's at VT Dems, but that's equivalent to your username, your public-facing username for your account. A tweet is a Twitter post. A hashtag is a way that we collect information and ideas by topics or keywords. So you might say hashtag voting rights, as I mentioned, hashtag reproductive liberty. Retweet is when you share a Twitter post. Mention, if you'd like to tag someone directly in your post, another account, you can just click Shift 2 for the @ symbol, and you'll get to mention somebody, and that should be the case across social media accounts, especially Facebook and Twitter. A DM is a direct message. A timeline, that's also known as your Facebook feed, Instagram as well, and Twitter and TikTok all have feeds. And stories. Stories is a rapid content sharing place on Instagram for posts that will last 24 hours or less. Best practices on Facebook. Images and videos are the most shared content. In fact, they are at least 3.5 times more likely to be shared than text only. Make a direct ask when possible. Like this post, share this post, sign this petition. Set your goal for how many posts you're going to start with. For example, you might start with 1 post per day, even if it's a reshare. On Instagram, you can repurpose Facebook images or photos to post in your Instagram feed. You can share time-sensitive content in stories. You can post links in your stories to take direct action via websites, petitions. Maybe you've got a web store or content on other platforms. You can follow and comment on relevant accounts. And you can set your goal. For example, aim for 1 feed post per day or 5 stories. You can share more there. Twitter is all about keeping it short. You want to be colloquial and have personality. Interact with others when possible and follow the energy. Use hashtags whenever appropriate. Probably stick to 1 or 2. And if you're typing the first word of Twitter with an @ symbol, like you're tagging someone in, make sure to put a period just before it. On TikTok, there's a great video editor built into the platform, so get to know it. Don't take yourself too seriously. Also, you want to let yourself have that personality and jump on the trends. Stick to a super short description on each video and use hashtags. The more hashtags, the merrier. That's how you are going to get discovered. And share TikTok posts on other social media platforms, especially visual platforms like Instagram. All right, so now's the time for questions. If you've got them, please drop them in the chat. And we're going to move on to the next section of our training, which is our Q&A time. Thank you all for joining us tonight, and I'm looking forward to answering your questions.